economic right particularly, that you don't have right to land, right to business, uh, right to entrepreneurship, right to education, right to public job like military and police. You have nothing whatsoever. What you have is the casual labor. And that casual labor is also in the form of a slave labor. The untouchable were slave. Now there is a very important book by Salan Mohan from Kerala, which prove that in Kerala how untouchable were treated as slave. Slave means that you are a property of the owner. You could be sold, you could be killed, it could be rented out. Very, very worse kind of wage labor. So therefore, the denial of economic right particularly are very, very important for their deprivation. Now, the Untouchability Offence Act of 1955, Atrocity Act of 1979 largely deal with the discrimination in social, religious and cultural sphere. To some extent education, to some extent at one or two places in economics, but it excludes a major part of economic discrimination, which is the real cause of their deprivation. And therefore, I thought that this has not been studied, and I must study it as an economist. There's a long history which is given in the introduction, how I did it, how I learned the methodology from the USA when I spent 2 years there. So I studied then the inequality, then the causes in terms of discrimination. And once you know the causes, then the solution comes in. And the solution were given by Dr. Basa Ambedkar right from 1920. And what he has given is with us now. The law against discrimination, reservation, economic and education empowerment, share in executive like ministers, commissions. So I don't want to go into that. So the policy comes in. So this, I dealt with this issue of inequalities, reasons for equality, and the solutions, and the policies, and improvement in the policy. Now the second book, Economic Casteism, I wanted to bring out the economic discrimination quite dominantly in front of the reader, and therefore I gave it thought for quite some time. And I had given the Manu's Economics, in fact, a title. And my publisher didn't agree with that. He said, Thorat, don't put me in trouble. The time is very difficult. So you know the timing. So then I apply my mind and I gave it an economic discrimination, which is also a powerful word which tells you that there is economic discrimination. And that the economic discrimination, then I defined what is economic discrimination. Discrimination in employment, discrimination in access to land, to business, and to other economic opportunity, education. I have not dealt with the social and cultural and religious as such. Focus on economics, and it comes out very well. That when I became a chairman, when I set up the Indian Institute of Dalit Study along with the people from Andhra, Paul Divakar was one of the person who was part of it. Vinay knows, Martin Makwan from Ahmedabad. And so we sort of set up that institute in Delhi. I took a leave and I became as a director. And thereafter I conducted about 22 surveys. There is a list of surveys which capture and tells you the economic discrimination and its consequences on poverty, income. Not only in employment, but the discrimination in employment was done by quite a few. But discrimination faced by farmer in sale and purchase of input, discrimination faced by business person who run auto, who start a restaurant, who start a grocery shop. How do they face the discrimination and how does it impact their income? So the economic discrimination is a continuation of the reason for inequality, as it were. It is linked with that. And the last book, of course, is 30 people have written about it, but the most important part is the impact on policy. I think we did a studies. We know the reason. We made the policies, reform in policy, new policies, and there end the job. That's an academic job. But how do we convert those policies into practice? How do we convince the government and the policy maker to develop the policies? That was the most difficult exercise. So I used to organize, I used to bring the member of parliament and sometimes the commissioner the SC/ST Commission Member of Parliament's forum is there in Delhi. So I used to go to their meeting and present them all the result and then convince them that why can't they convert this into policy. The section in this book, the last book, in fact deals with the actual realization of the policy based on our result. And that gives tremendous satisfaction because it is resulted into positive outcome. There are some examples. Of course, as chairman of the UGC, I was instrumental in starting 15 central universities. And now the student get admission. This 15 central university in the state where they did not have central university. That is why you don't have a central university here. But there are other states which did not have. So the expansion, the student got the access to this. I had presented to Dr. Manmohan Singh that there are 370 districts where the enrollment ratio in higher education is less than 6%. So he gave funding to set up the model college in 370 districts. So there are model colleges now that has provided an expansion to be, and 1,000 polytechnics in public-private partnership and all that. But the most important thing which I realized was that the proportion of the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe going for PhD was very less. So me and I think Rajshekhar Undru was one of the brain. His brain works very fast. So he suggested, can we have a fellowship? So we talked to Mungekar, who was the member of the planning commission at that time, and we conceived this scholarship. And I said, Dr. Ambedkar fellowship. Rajshekhar Undru is again very clever from bureaucracy. He said, no, Thorat, let's give a name Rajiv Gandhi. It will get the approval of Sonia Gandhi. And that fellowship, at that time, I have given it to everybody which you will get 55% mark, no written examination. Thousands of students have got those fellowships, and they have done PhDs now. There are now in university, whenever there is application, you cannot say that there are no candidates. The applications are flooded with PhD from the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe. When I did that for the scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, the minority student came to me. And they alleged me that you are favoring scheduled caste, scheduled tribe. What about the minorities? So I went to the minority minister, who was a Maharashtrian at that time. I don't remember his name. And I told him that you start the PhD fellowship. He was a Maharashtrian and I spoke in Marathi. He didn't understand what I was saying, this fellowship for PhD. So he called his joint secretary, he said, whatever Thorat says, you please accept it. So we introduced the minority scholarship, which covered Muslim, Buddhist, Sikhs, Jain, and they get quite a lot. 900 fellowship. When Salman Khurshid came, I told him 900 is very small number. So he increased to 2,000. Now this government has withdrawn that. You can imagine. Fortunately, Rajiv Gandhi Fellowship is not withdrawn, but it is renamed as a national fellowship. But it is there. But there are several conditions that are put in. The intention is not to increase the proportion of the scheduled caste with PhD. Then also, once I give this fellowship, then the high caste student who do not get scholarship but who get admission in the central university, they came and they fought with me, demonstration. You favor only minorities and scheduled caste and scheduled tribe and OBC. What about economically poor? We are coming, getting admission on our merit, but we don't get fellowship. So I fought with the ministry and I say, give them fellowship at least minimum amount for maintenance, and that was 5,000 rupees fellowship per month for MPhil and 8,000 rupees for PhD. It still continues. Fortunately, it has not been withdrawn. There was an attempt to withdraw, so I talked to the then Education Minister Smriti Irani that please don't withdraw it. This benefit the other person. So these two fellowships are on, but minority fellowship is withdrawn. So there are several other. Now you imagine that the research on education bring out the problem, solution, and those policy recommendations are converted into policy was I was in power. But when I was also outside the power, there are certain decisions that I have been able to make. The 4% reservation in purchases from the SC/ST businesses by the micro and medium small industry was also our recommendation. But fortunately, the minister was from Maharashtra. We convinced him And he introduced that reservation which still continued. So there are other small policies which have been really put into practice. Mr. Antole was the minority minister, so he helped to get the minority fellowship, and as well as the reservation. But I think the most important point which mentioned by Justice is the reservation in the private sector. We had done, when the Manmohan Singh went for a privatization and globalization and liberalization, the Officers Association, Taki Madhav Rao, organized the Delhi Officers Association under R.K. Naik. They organized the meeting and they invited Manmohan Singh and they invited me to speak, and I shared that you are privatizing public sector undertaking. Privatization means de-reservation. It will affect adversely, and he agreed. He said we must do something. So he called the Confederation of Indian Industry, FICCI, Federation of Indian Chamber of Commerce, and Associate Chamber of Commerce, that do something, because I am privatizing, increase the private sector, it will affect the lead, so you should have some. So there was a fight for next 5 years, whether there should be reservation in private sector. We respect merit, we don't respect gender or caste, but I fought with them and gave the evidence to them that how you discriminate in hiring and employment. Give them the data which were very embarrassing data, that how one particular industrial sector employ the people of their own region. 50 to 60% from Gujarat, 50 to 60% from Maharashtra, Kirloskar at that time. Then they were embarrassed, and then they say, okay. So finally, a affirmative action policy was developed for the private sector, but voluntary and self-regulatory, no control of the state. So we do not know how does it work. But I think we do require a reservation in private sector, because private sector has expanded like anything. The economic sector is private now. No new public sector undertaking are coming. Government job have declined now. Private job have increased. The most worst part of is the privatization of education, school and higher education. That affect employment of the scheduled caste as well as the admission of the scheduled caste. So you require reservation in private sector. But most important reason is this. One of the reasons is given by Honorable Judge, that what is private sector? There is nothing like private sector. There is a private sector, but it's all supported by the government. The private is also having interface with the public. So there should be a reservation. But most important point that I argued is that why do we get reservation? Why Ambedkar argued for, Baba Saheb argued for reservation? There is the basis of reservation is caste untouchability based discrimination. If they don't discrimination, then you treat them poor and have a poor policy. Pro-poor policy is different than the reservation policy, because reservation policy comes as a safeguard against discrimination in employment. Now, we have given a sufficient evidence that there is a discrimination in employment, wages, business, in farming, in the private sector. And therefore, you do require the reservation policy for private sector. There is no any other way out. America has a reservation in private sector. Northern Ireland has a reservation in private sector. Japan had a reservation in private sector, because discrimination persists in private sector. It doesn't persist in government as much. So I think there is a need for that. So these are some of the point I think I wanted to share with you, that these three books are interrelated, and I am happy that they have come out on this particular occasion. The most important point is the emerging challenges. I think we are in a most difficult time today. Honorable Judge has said that whether we are a republic or we are some other government, democracy is of the people, by the people, for the people. Is a democracy of the people and by the people? There is an issue now. That's what he means, republic. Just before the election, you declare certain benefit to certain section. In Bihar election, it was done. So you are directly asking vote for the benefit. So the democracy is in danger. The nationalism is in danger. Nationalism, which is based on certain principle and not on religion, but now the nationalism is acquiring a religious state, religious feature. And there are other features. The minority is under attack because you are trying to get a religious state openly, that it should be based on Manusmriti, it should be based on Vedas or Sanatana Dharma. So Dr. Ambedkar had warned in 1944 and earlier also that Indian history is nothing but a struggle between the Brahmanism and Buddhism, a struggle between the equal society, free society, unless against the unequal society and unfree society. That is the revolution and counter-revolution, and today the counter-revolution is quite successful. It is coming in a big way. Therefore, what we need now is to study Ambedkar. All prediction of Dr. Ambedkar has come true. He has warned in many of his books, Communal Deadlock and Way to Solve It, what Congress and Gandhi have done to untouchable. He has warned that our democracy is not a democracy based on policies. Our democracy is going to be based on religion, and it will be a communal. Our nation is like to be based on religion and not the secular principle. These are his warning which he has given. He said that we are a democracy and nation in making, but we have to work hard. But we have gone in another exactly in opposite direction. Friends, I will end here. The last book that I am working, as long as my health allow me, is to the academic biography of Dr. Ambedkar and bring out. I've been working for last 1 year. I will work on anything but capture the entire thinking and ideology of Baba Sahib Ambedkar and relate it to the present crisis and the solution also. I really thank once again all the speaker. You know, I forget to mention that all of them are they are close with me in one way or other. Hargopal is, of course, you know, I became a chairman and I say he must be in UGC, and I say competent person to decide whom to give project and whom not to give project. Prasad, I think, yes, he was chairman of NAC and I interacted with my chairman, but I think, if I am not wrong, Prasad, I sent him to Mauritius to set up the open university there. Am I correct? Yeah. So he went and set up the university. And as a reward, the Mauritius University awarded me the honorary degree. So part of the credit goes to him. And of course, I had an opportunity to work with Honorable Judge on that expert committee for the Telangana census, and wonderful insight. I might have contributed from the academically, but his constitutional insight was very, very powerful, and we could prepare that report and take it ahead. Yeah, and of course, Reddy, as an economist, we are a colleague. He was a member of the Center for Institute of Social and Economic Change. I was his chairman for two terms. Hargopal was there, Reddy was there, and we worked together to develop that institute. So all of them are friends in one way or other. He was the chairman. Yeah. Kaki Madharao, yes, I had a very nice memory of him. I share with him. When I think the Karnataka Prime Minister was the Gowda, isn't it? He was a Prime Minister and Paswan was a Education Minister or some minister. And Paswan said that Thorat, we would like to take you in the Planning Commission. I say, I'll be happy to help you. After 15 days, I went to him, what happened to that? He said, no, Thorat, there is an alternative name that is coming up, that is Kaki Madharao. I said, that's fine, I don't know him, but he must be a good person. So after 3-4 years, I told him this. He said, no, I don't remember that. But ever since that time, you know, especially Bemula's case and other cases, I think we came close and I began to understand him. Well, thank you very much. I must stop it here. You have been sitting here for a pretty long time. I hope after 3 years or so, I come with a last book of mine, that is Ideology of Investment. Thank you very much.